Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from somewhere in New Zealand, it's the Dave Benson Show with your host, Dave Benson.
Thank you. Oh man, it's Monday. Hello everyone in here. Hello everyone out there. Welcome back to the Dave Benson Show, the #1 independent talk show on the planet, and the only show where you don't really arrive so much as eventually realize you're already here. Thank you genuinely for pressing whatever chaotic festive combination of buttons, switches, voice commands and accidental elbow nudges caused this show to appear in front of you, and suddenly my face is just there, uninvited but fully committed. It's nearly Christmas, everyone, which means everyone feels louder, faster, slightly more emotional than planned. People are kinder, but also quicker to lose their patience, and nobody really knows what day it is anymore. Or just confidently guessing, really. This week we celebrate 100 years of the one and only Dick Van Dyke. Full century, an absolute legend, dancing, smiling, charming generations, and still making the rest of us look like we need to lie down. It really makes you realise just how incredible that generation is. Happy 100th, Dick. Did you know, Tom, that my grandmother is in her 90s and she still takes time to watch the show? I think she's probably one of my oldest viewers. So if you're watching, Grandma, a very Merry Christmas to you. Now, that brings us to today's festive question, which is inspired by a classic Christmas song. He sang it constantly, but was he really the happiest Christmas tree? Let's break this down. You're a living tree. You get cut down, killed. You're dragged into a stranger's house. You're then forced to stand upright while surrounded by the dead bodies of other trees, all looking at you from their windows. All of you are lit up with lights, staring out of that window like some sort of festive crime scene. That's not happiness. That's a serial tree killer's interior decorating dream. Somewhere the tree is thinking, yesterday I was minding my own business, hanging out with the birds and bees, and today I'm wearing tinsel and being judged by relatives. One for the books. All right, let's kick into the monologue. Gears engaged, pressure steady, system at peak performance. Standing by. Alright people, let's start in Japan, where a 92-year-old grandmother has just won the Tekken 8 esports tournament. 92! She beat 7 other competitors aged between 73 and 95. She's been training with her grandchildren and she now plans to enter a national tournament, which means somewhere out there is a teenager who's just rage quit gaming forever after being combo punched by a woman who remembers black and white TV. Also, Tekken, the game where people literally throw each other through walls. She didn't adapt to modern gaming. Modern gaming adapted to her. Next up, a KLM flight from Amsterdam to Aruba was grounded for 36 hours because of a stowaway rat on board. Not a snake, not a suspicious device, a rat. Passengers were put up in hotels while crews deep cleaned the aircraft and hunted for the rodent. Honestly, that rat lived out every passenger's dream. Stop a long-haul flight, delay everyone, get free accommodation, and never once have to explain yourself to customer service. In Colorado, residents of a small town went to war with their homeowners association after it tried to ban a 28-foot inflatable Santa. So the neighbors responded in the only reasonable way possible, by putting up more giant Santas. Nothing brings a community together like a festive passive aggression. At one point there were so many blow-up Santas it looked less like Christmas and more like a Macy's parade sponsored by Spite. Over in Brisbane, a bus driver rescued a koala that was struggling to climb a pole. He wrapped it in his jacket, let it ride the bus and waited for wildlife rescuers. Now this is peak Australia. Public transport, but occasionally your seatmate is a eucalyptus-addicted teddy bear with trust issues. Bus lanes, bike lanes, koala lanes. In England, firefighters rescued a cow whose head got trapped between 2 trees. Not a fence, not a gate, 2 actual trees. They had to use a telescopic handler to lift the cow free, which proves once and for all that being stuck between a rock and a hard place absolutely applies to livestock. In California, a hornbill named Pilly escaped from a zoo, disappeared for the weekend and was eventually found at a country club, just casually living her best life. Zoo staff actually coaxed her home, but let's be honest, she wasn't lost. She was on a wellness retreat, probably had a facial, judged some golfers and decided captivity just wasn't her vibe. In Oklahoma, motorists spotted a kangaroo hopping down a road. Deputies captured the animal named Martha and safely returned her to her owner. Oklahoma, where you can drive to work and suddenly think, either I need a coffee or that's definitely a kangaroo. The tourism slogan writes itself. Oklahoma, surprise marsupials available. In Virginia, Animal Services rescued a red fox whose back legs got stuck between fence slats. They freed it, treated minor injuries and released it back into the wild, which means that fox is now telling the most embarrassing stories imaginable to the other foxes. I was just testing the fence for structural integrity. In Germany, a man named Joseph Cardinal now owns 11,000 snow globes. 11,000! This is including globes featuring phones, helicopters and the Titanic. Somewhere a Guinness World Record official is still vacuuming glitter out of their shoes, and somewhere else a Lego collector just whispered, "Challenge accepted." And finally, a Swedish YouTuber built a treat dispensing piano for his octopus. The octopus learned to press keys in exchange for snacks. A marine biologist has confirmed the octopus is not expressing creativity, it is purely food motivated, which honestly makes it the most relatable music of our time. Forget AI. Octopus generated music is the future. Album drops when the snacks run out. So have a look at the YouTube news. YouTube's AI moderation has been busy this week, and by busy, I mean it terminated over 12 million channels. Not for crimes, not for chaos, but because the AI panicked. One creator had a video flagged for graphic violence because the AI mistook laughter for screaming. Another was age restricted because a reaction video was somehow deemed more dangerous than the original. YouTube says that this was all linked to a massive financial scam network, which is fair, but the AI is currently acting like a mall security guard who's had far too much coffee. Somewhere right now, an innocent gaming channel is whispering, "I just reviewed a keyboard." Mr. Beast has been at it again. He gave away a $2.4 million private jet to a random pilot, which is generous and wild and environmentally spicy. The internet immediately split into two camps. Camp A said, "This is amazing," whilst Camp B said, "Well, this is a flying carbon sin." Even some fans said, "Jimmy, maybe a Prius next time." To be fair, if anyone was going to give away a jet on YouTube, it's always going to be Mr. Beast. The man's final form is just handing out continents. A Florida creator is under investigation after launching a live opossum using a homemade catapult. Now that sentence feels fake. Unfortunately, well, Florida. The opossum survived and ran off, which is good, but authorities and animal groups were not thrilled. The creator took the video down, but the damage was done. This is why every time something unbelievable happens online, you don't ask what happened, you ask where. And the answer is always, well, it was Florida. Luke Nichols from the Outdoor Boys channel shocked fans by stepping back from YouTube at nearly 18 million subscribers, which is the YouTube equivalent of retiring at the top of Everest and saying, "Nah, I'm good." He said the channel's success meant he and the kids were constantly recognised in public, which sounds lovely until strangers start approaching your children at the supermarket. He chose privacy over growth, which is admirable, but deeply confusing to YouTube's algorithm. Somewhere YouTube is screaming, "You were the chosen one!" Australia has finally officially banned under 16-year-olds from social media, and YouTube had to comply. This means teenagers were logged out of their accounts, playlists, comments, everything. Some parents cheered, some teens cried, and at least one parent admitted they immediately taught their kid how to use a VPN. Nothing strengthens a family bond like jointly committing minor cybercrimes. Australia says it's about safety. YouTube says it might push kids into unmonitored spaces. Either way, there's a lot of teenagers staring at blank screens right now asking, what do I do with my hands? YouTube released its year-end creator rankings, and surprise, short creators are dominating. An Australian group channel shot into the Globe top 5 and briefly overtook Mr. Beast in total views, which is insane. People are now becoming global celebrities by yelling challenges at each other for 27 seconds. Long-form creators are watching this like Victorian authors watching TikTok saying, "This is not literature." Markiplier announced his horror film Iron Lung is getting a theatrical release. Now, he wrote it, directed it, starred in it, edited it, actually funded it. At this point, the popcorn probably credits him too. He's self-distributing the film directly to cinemas, bypassing studios entirely. Hollywood executives are pretending, well, this is interesting, whilst quietly panicking, I'm sure. The film is also said to make a record for the most fake blood ever used, which feels, well, quite on brand for him. YouTube has quietly unlisted every YouTube Rewind video ever made. No announcement, no apology, just gone. Somewhere the 2018 Rewind video just whispered, "I was the most disliked video on earth, and now I don't exist." Linus Tech Tips publicly criticise YouTube's new collab feature, which pushes videos into your feed even if you don't want them there. In some cases, videos from blocked channels still appeared because of collaborations. Linus summed it up perfectly. If I blocked a channel, that means no. Not no unless my friend is involved. YouTube says it is helping discovery. Users say it's helping rage. And finally, YouTube took down a live stream this week because the AI thought a microphone was a firearm. Not a prop gun, not a fake gun, a microphone. Now, if the AI cannot tell the difference between a microphone and a gun, we're about 3 updates away from a toaster being classified as a tank. Let's have a look at the podcast news. Joe Rogan spent part of this week warning America that mountain lions are basically doing home invasions now. According to Joe, this is because liberal states will not let people hunt them, which is a bold take, because nothing says balanced wildlife policy like a man on a podcast telling you nature's gone too woke. Joe says pets are being eaten, which is tragic, but also Joe Rogan lives in Texas, where the wildlife's armed. The Golden Globes added a Best Podcast Award for the first time ever. They nominated Smartless, Call Her Daddy, an Armchair Expert, and very deliberately did not nominate Joe Rogan, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about Hollywood. They did not want a podcast winner. They wanted a podcast that would not talk. Apple Podcasts now requires creators to disclose if their show is AI generated, which means somewhere out there's a podcast that had to admit none of this is real. The host does not exist, and neither do his opinions. Honestly, it's probably still better than some podcasts. Elon Musk went on a podcast and said AI terrifies him, keeps him awake at night, and worries him deeply, which is kind of unsettling because Elon Musk is the guy who's building it. That's like a pilot coming on the intercom and saying, just so you know everyone, this plane scares me. And here is the real story nobody said out loud. So Netflix wants podcasts. Spotify wants video. Apple wants disclaimers. YouTube, well, they want everything, which means the podcast industry has officially admitted that audio alone is not enough anymore. You do not just need a voice. You need a face, lighting, clips, captions, and apparently a Netflix deal. So that's it. We've told you a 92-year-old is still playing Tekken. Mr. Beast gave away a jet. A YouTuber catapulting a possum. Netflix stole podcasts. Apple asked creators to admit if they're real. AI lied on the news podcast. Elon Musk admitted AI keeps him awake at night. And somewhere, someone just launched a podcast with 3 cameras and no plan, which means the internet remains absolutely feral. But out of all that, we've lined up an amazing guest for you today, and I can't wait. Tom, let's roll these festive titles.